Okay, ladies and gentlemen and people in between. It's time for the main event. It's also time for me to get the flipping game controller off my lap, because I don't need it right now. We're about to watch a YouTube video. In fact, it's a YouTube video that came out a little while ago and I said I'd react to, and I literally have not watched it until today, so all of my reactions will be sincere and genuine and all that good stuff. First of all, of course, we do have to make sure that the sound levels are good, so ladies and gentlemen, I really do hope that you can actually tell me
this episode is sponsored by Google.
The sound balance is good. Do they sound good to you? Because I'm talking over this now. Just let me know if that sounded okay. I'm hoping someone will tell me, because I cannot hear myself. Okay.
A portion of this episode is sponsored by Google.
Let's see, are the sound.
A portion of this episode is sponsored by Google.
Yeah, okay, so the video sound is a bit louder than me, so let's try this again.
A portion of this episode is sponsored by Google.
Maybe I need to move my microphone a bit closer to me. Let's try this now. Right, Right, okay, that sounds good. That sounds okay. Right, so this is the level we're gonna go with. So hopefully there's some of us with us now, and hopefully you are going to enjoy this as much as I am going to enjoy this, because it's going to be fun. I'll switch over to my YouTube tab.
A portion of this episode is sponsored by Google.
Nope, let's not play yet. Let's just make sure that it's on screen. It's on screen. Cool. Full screen. Let's go.
A portion of this episode is sponsored by Google.
Yep, it's not my sponsor. It is. As always, this video will be unmonetized when it goes up on YouTube, because, you know, it's mostly not my footage. Mind you, so are most of my videos, but I kind of cut them up in a way that's transformative. A montage of images from the first 3 videos. And we've got the tilting effect. And
hello, internet.
Wow.
Welcome to film.
That was an interesting melt, I guess. Let's go.
Eerie, where I wish I had a shadow man feed me when lights go off.
Oh god. It's still the door handle knows, still the feeding. It's not feeds, it's sees. Ah. I'm already ranting.
No, what is this thing? Oh, you're a horrific monster. On second thought, maybe not. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Walten Files. For those of you who don't remember, the Walten Files is the analog horror series from Chilean creator Martin Walls, with a story that's gonna melt your brain and a sound design that's gonna melt your ears.
Huh.
Apologies, headphone users. It's a story about the now-defunct Bonds Burgers, an animatronic-themed restaurant chain founded by business partners Jack Walton and Felix Kranken. Through the first 2 installments of the series, we learned that these 2 men had a...
I mean, actually, like, as far as, like, the recreations of characters go, that's actually pretty good. It's pretty accurate for both of them, really, isn't it?
Falling out, and that Bonds had been forced to close shortly after its opening due to some mysterious event called the Incident of 1974. Honestly, though, it feels more accurate to call this the Incidents of 1974.
Has the Incident of 1974 been referenced in... I mean, I probably shouldn't be too nitpicky about this one, because I talk about incidents myself, but I don't really state that there was the incident, and after we found out that there's more than one. I don't put that much emphasis on it, do I?
Considering that this is the year of Jack's disappearance, his wife Rosemary's untimely death and stuffing into Shaw the sheep, and another woman named Susan Woodings winding up inside Banny the bunny. I mean, it was a busy year for the franchise. After the closure due to the Incidents of 1974, the animatronics were relocated out into the woods, where they proceeded to take the lives of a few more victims as they lay in wait for the return of the mysterious character named Sophie, a former caretaker of the Bonds Burgers facility that we briefly saw in the very first episode of the series.
She's not been confirmed to be a caretaker. I mean, we know that we have that one image of her in a caretaker outfit, but that's literally the only proof we have of her being a caretaker at the moment.
A person that the animatronics are particularly keen on getting their hands on, as evidenced by them killing Brian Stells because he, quote, looked like her. And as of last episode, that's where we left things off. Almost. There was one final video I hinted at towards the end of that last episode. By piecing together flashes of a URL left at the beginning and end of the Relocate project upload, we're brought to an unlisted video titled Lucky You, where we see... Wait, what is this? What is this? It's a clearly laid out timeline of events? I'm crying because I'm so happy. Also, watch the endoskeleton boogie down.
Yeah.
If there was any lingering confusion about the order of this story, Lucky You is basically the teacher's answer key, and it confirms everything that we talked about last upload. However, there's still one major reveal here: the return of Sophie.
You must be so confused about what you saw. Don't be scared, my little bunny, for I'm going to tell you a story of broken people, beautiful people, safety and pills, Sophie.
This now pretty much marks Sophie as our main character. Remember, the first thing that we hear in episode 1 of the series is backwards text that gives us this message. You finally start to remember that old day. They will look out for you soon. This whole story from its opening moments has been an attempt to wake up long dormant memories inside Sophie's mind. And now we have a fuller picture of what's going on. Sophie was once a caretaker of Bonds Burgers. She survives a tragic accident or a Bon attack.
It's not been confirmed that she's a caretaker. It's not really been confirmed.
Something that would cause her memories to be locked away behind a gate of trauma and medication. So the question now is, what exactly are those memories that need to be unlocked? For that, we finally turn to episode 3, Bunny Farm, the last canonical installment in the series.
It's one word, not 2 words. It's one word. This is the one. It's the most random thing for me to nitpick over. It's not 2 words.
And the one where we watch as Sophie's memories come flooding back. The premise for this hour-long upload is that Sophie, now age 22, is playing through the old Bunny Smiles Incorporated arcade game, Bunny Farm. Along the way, she's presented with her family's tragic backstory, forced to face literal corpses, to which she responds,
but that was very confusing.
Understatement of the year there, so as she plays through the game, she taps into glitches and hidden files that provide us with massive lore dumps. These reveals ultimately break down into 3 major chunks. The first is Susan Wooding's audio log number 3. It's worth noting we've yet to hear numbers 1 and 2. Through this file, we learn that Susan was the engineer for the animatronics, the one that essentially built them. When they're found malfunctioning on opening day, well, this happens. This tells us a few things. First, that they begin to malfunction after Jack's disappearance, but before anyone actually gets stuffed. Two, it confirms what we suspected, that she is in fact the one inside of the Banny suit, and that she doesn't appear to have any family connection to the Waltons themselves.
Yeah, like that the family theory got completely jousted with that. I mean, she could still be related in some other way, but the immediate family theory completely out of the window. Yeah.
Interestingly, based on this teeny tiny text right here that's really tough to read, we see that she's still alive inside of the suit somehow, and that her stomach feels weird, which probably connects back to the Shadow Man feeding her when lights go off that we saw happen in the Relocate project.
It still not feeds!
And finally, Susan's tape here brings up an interesting loose thread. Susan says this.
Chris left some hours ago, and Felix didn't even show up.
She mentions someone named Chris. Now, earlier in Bunny Farm, we see that Chris is the name for one of the saved game files on the arcade cabinet. But the name actually comes up even earlier than that. The first time we actually hear about Chris is way back in the first upload of the series, where Chris is the one that ultimately sends Brian Stells to the animatronic storage facility, and ultimately to his death. It's hard to hear exactly, but Chris's name is definitely mentioned here.
Anyway, so Chris told me this place hasn't been working since about 78, 79.
So, could Chris be the identity of our Shadow Man? The one person who has a connection to the franchise since its earliest days and has survived to tell the tale, feeding the animatronics at night? It remains to be seen, but Chris is definitely suspect number one.
Yeah, Chris could be the Shadow Man, but the Shadow Man is still not feeding animatronics. Yeah.
Second major chunk of this upload gives
I need to stop harping on about feeds. It's been confirmed. I've harped on about it enough. Let's go.
us the identity of yet another animatronic, this time Boozoo the Ringmaster. Bunny Farm is very explicit in showing us that a man named Charles has been stuffed inside of the suit, and that he's been missing since...
It's not... it's guessed it is Charles. There's a lot of evidence to say it is Charles, but it has not been confirmed that it's Charles. I keep harping on about this, even in my comments. It's not been confirmed that it's Charles. There's every possibility that it could be somebody else. It's just very likely to be Charles. A lot of evidence points to it being Charles.
14 missing, 0714.
5 days before the restaurant's shut down. Some scary breathing and jump scares later, we get this line. A line that's only visible via the closed captions. I don't remember my face. Chris and now Charles are two major loose threads that we have coming out of this upload. We know that they're important to the story, but we don't quite know their role in any of this. Last is the most tragic chunk of the three, which, you know, is saying a lot considering that we just went through two horrific murders. Through a series of redacted diary entries, we learn how Felix's marriage to his wife Linda falls apart, and how
okay, we're gonna have to skip the advert there, because it's not my advert to show. Yeah, so far he's got like a bunch of like chunks of big chunks right, but then some other chunks wrong. I mean, there's more than like 3 big chunks. You've got the Billy portion, you've got Char's portion, you've got Boozoo's portion, you've got you've got Banny's portion, you've got the Show Bear portion, you've got Linda's diary. Like, there's more than 3 chunks that are important. I mean, yeah, sure, some of them are a bit more minor than other chunks, but they're all important. They all hold important information. Now, if you excuse me, I need to skip this.
The place to be this Christmas.
Felix has
Okay, and we're going back to this.
increasingly turned towards alcohol for some reason. His problems actually date back to 1964, 10 years before any of the Bonds Burgers drama started to kick up. In fact, they don't start pitching the restaurant idea until a year later in 1965 to a company called Cyberfun Tech. So it seems like trouble was brewing in Felix's life much earlier than most Walten file theorists suspect. But it all wouldn't fall.
I mean, I'm not included in that most because I do theorize about 1964 in my own video. So, still one of the best theorists, it seems.
apart until
Not
a
to
fateful
boast.
phone call when Jack asks Felix to take his 2 kids, Ed and Molly, to their school dance.
I need to stay at the workshop to finish the paperwork, and Ross is taking Sophie to the dentist. We were wondering if we could pick him up for the event and take him home later. Sure, I can do that. Really? Yeah, sure. Oh, thanks a lot, man. You're a lifesaver, Felix.
Jack would soon find out that Felix would not, in fact, be a lifesaver. But before we get to how, you know what is a lifesaver? Our sponsor for this portion of today's episode.
No, we're not going to do the sponsor thing again, because once again, it is somebody else's sponsor, not mine. So we're going to skip ahead. Skip. Yes, Google. There we go.
Episode. Now, back to the fictional scary stuff. As you might have predicted, Felix, with his alcohol issue, is not fit to drive that night. Via the diary entries, we learned that Linda had officially left him earlier that day, May 2nd. And
Yeah.
after drinking more at the school dance, which, I guess things were different at school dances back in the 70s, he gets lost on the drive back home and ultimately winds up in a horrific car crash that kills both of Jack's children, Ed and Molly. Terrified of what he's done and what he could possibly tell Jack, he buries the 2 kids as a cover-up for his actions. This, in turn, is the memory that Sophie needed to unlock.
You must find them, Sophie.
This just got so much deeper than I thought, and now I think I know what's happening.
In the end, we clearly see Ed and Molly, depicted as 2 red children, rise out of the ground and possess their gray stuffed animal, Rocket Rabbit. 2 children sharing 1 character. Wait, is Rocket just the Walten Files equivalent of Golden Freddy? Did everyone realize that Golden Freddy actually had 2 spirits inside of 1 suit before I did? What are the dates of this one? Walten Files, okay. Golden Freddy Spirit Theory. Okay, I was ahead of it by a little bit. And then Bunny Farm ends on that uplifting note. From here, we get one final check-in with our happy little animatronic family, a final sequence of jump scares, and that's it. A somber ending to an intense 3-video ride of horror and tragedy. And honestly, it's a pretty tightly written episode. In this one extended upload, we get a lot of the answers that we were looking for last time. Who is Sophie? Why is she important? What she's supposed to remember? Check. We know all those things now. But for everything that it explicitly answers, Bunny Farm still leaves one of our biggest questions open-ended. The biggest being, where's Jack? His frantic phone calls to Felix the night of the crash asking about his children are, to date, the last time we actually see or hear from him. Sometime in the next month after those calls, he disappears, the robots start acting funny, the restaurant opens, Rosemary gets stuffed into Shaw, and things quickly close. But whether that's Jack getting stuffed into Bon, Jack stuffing himself into Bon, William Afton style, or him just literally disappearing out of grief and despair in a quest to find some way to bring his kids back, it's unclear. After all, someone caused the animatronics to go haywire before opening day of the restaurant. Could it have been Jack and his grief? Maybe. The evidence we have right now points to Jack being dead, or stuffed into the Bond suit like you might expect. In video 1, we get a brief
A go away advert.
glimpse of Jack's missing poster, which comes accompanied with a message of, "Let me out of here." And considering that Susan in Bunny Farm says that she's alive inside the Banny suit, stuffed people in this universe appear to be conscious inside of their animatronic prisons. For more proof of Jack's fate, though, look no further than the actual farm in Bunny Farm. You'll notice that even though the game in question is called Bunny Farm, the farm actually belongs to a character named Pete the Hippo. I guess Hippo Farm doesn't have the same ring to it. Anyway, during Sophie's playthrough, there's a lingered-on shot of a plaque describing the whole area as being founded by a hippo named Bobby with 2 children, Johnny and Pete. Bobby, who's now deceased, year unknown, had promised to build the greatest barn ever. Later, this plaque changes to instead reference the deaths of Ed and Molly Walton, which by proxy would mean that Bobby, our dead hippo, is then the stand-in for Jack Walton, our dead or stuffed protagonist. Connected to that, who or what is Bon the animatronic bunny?
I mean, maybe, but that's a little bit of a reach.
It's easy to assume that Bon and Jack are one and the same. If the bunny-shaped animatronic rabbit foot fits, wear it, you know? But I'm just not convinced. On one hand, the Springtrap connection of a mourning father losing his mind and trying to put the pieces of a broken family back together is hard to deny. On the other, though, I just don't see Jack, a loving father, actively luring his loving wife Rosemary to her death in the guise of Bon. Plus, we get a few additional visual clues as to what might really be going on here. Throughout Bunny Farm, we get the merging and separating of Ed and Molly as these two red child spirits. We of course see them preparing for their school dance on the front steps of their house, and we see both of their faces multiple times around Rocket Rabbit, making it crystal clear that they're inside of that beloved toy. But in a weird couple of creative decisions, we also see them split out of Bon multiple times. During the night of the dance, we see the Bon player character wander around the school before passing behind a wall, and suddenly on the other side we see Ed and Molly appear to hunt for their uncle.
I'm not sure if that means that Ed and Molly are actually connected to Bon. I mean, maybe, but that's more like I kind of just see that as Showbear and Rocket using what was there in the game. Like, you know, they're using the Bon player avatar until they were able to change it to the two red children. Because let's not forget, this is still spooky stuff going on within a game. Like, let's remember when they got taken to that like dark farm place where Showbear drops off that leaflet that Sophie reads. That farm area is filled with pieces from the actual like Bunny Farm game dotted all over the place, and then there's a few new elements, sure, but mostly the pieces in there are still from Bunny Farm. You know, it's still using elements from the game, so
During the final jump scares of the Bunny Farm video, we see Bon glitching with overlays of two child spirits.
I mean, okay, yeah, that's a bit more believable, but again, it doesn't always mean that. I don't know. He does have a point. It could be that I'm completely missing something, but.
One boy and one girl. So is Bon responding to the presence of these two lost children? Are they inside of him? His murderous intentions born out of their collective rage? Again, just like we see with Golden Freddy over in FNAF Land? Was Rocket just a glorified vessel to carry him from one body to the next? It's really unclear right now. Lastly though, I want to talk about the identity of Charles. Is he a Walten? A Kranken? At this point we have a clear idea of pretty much everyone else in the story. Jack, Rosemary, Sophie, Ed, and Molly are all one family. Felix was a friend and partner who ultimately separates from his wife Linda. Susan Woodings was an animatronic designer who just seems to be an employee kind of hanging out. But everything about Charles outside of his name is still a big question mark, despite him being one of the main focuses of Bunny Farm.
Not even his name is known. Like, it's very likely that he is Charles, but it's not been confirmed.
That said, I think I have an idea about his role in all this. And the solution doesn't come in the form of secret unlisted videos or backwards text. It comes instead in the form of Martin Walls' other non-canon animated specials. Mixed into the release of the Walten Files is a pair of animated holiday specials. The Christmas special called Boozoo's Ghosts and the Halloween special entitled The Mysterious House. Both feature alternate versions of our beloved mascot characters. Both also start off as seemingly normal old-time holiday specials before becoming the corrupted nightmare fuel that you'd associate with this series. To quickly summarize, Mysterious House is about a pair of trick-or-treaters who fall victim to a group of serial killers disguised as versions of Bon, Shaw, Billy, and a bizarre new character called TVA. Boozoo's Ghosts, meanwhile, is a surreal remix of a Christmas
TVA
Carol
comes
that puts
from
Boozoo,
the original Welcome to Bob's Burgers
Ebenezer
game.
Scrooge, and features a death scene where the censored face looks very similar to the contortions on Charles that we see throughout Bunny Farm. Now, I'm not suggesting that Martin Walls is lying about these being non-canon videos or anything. What I am saying though is that they might be testing out ideas or inspired by things that are canon to the actual story. And if that's the case,
yeah,
I've
already proposed that as far as the Mysterious House goes. I didn't cover Boozoo's Ghost though because I just couldn't talk about it properly.
Master, i.e. the head of a circus performance, as well as the stand-in for Ebenezer Scrooge, literature's most famous money-grubbing boss, seems to be an intentional choice. It implies that Charles was, in some way, a higher-up, a boss, maybe even the man supervising it all. Consider this, as it's common with the series, there's one final hidden URL inside of Bunny Farm, with a piece at the top of the video and a second at the end. Following that link leads you to a video called Guilty, where we watch the tragic downfall of Felix, from an enthusiastic young boss with a dream to a subsequent substance abuser lamenting his actions. And it's in this video that we start to track the history of their company. Jack and Felix found Bunny Smiles Incorporated back in 1967. Just two guys with a strange shared dream of bringing animatronic fun to the masses. But in 1972, they sell to a new company, Cyber Fun Tech. Notice the logos and disclaimers on the title cards for all these videos. Felix even calls it out.
It's crazy how far we've made it. Just everything, really. The Cyberfun Tech deal, the Bonds Burgers project, it's incredible.
And this is a part of the franchise's lore that's really yet to be explored. The need for Jack and Felix to actively involve a third partner, possibly in the form of whoever actually ran Cyberfun Technologies. A third partner who has monetary leverage to demand favors from one or both men to keep the business going in the direction that he wanted. This, I suspect, is Charles, the mystery face that lives inside of Buzu. Hence that character being depicted as both ringmaster among the robots and as Scrooge in his animated special. It's my belief that we're gonna learn that Charles is ultimately responsible for Felix's mental collapse. Anyway, with the new teaser out for installment 4, we may learn these answers sooner than later. But at the end of the day, what I love about this series is that it's a story about human characters in a world full of animatronics, not a story about animatronic characters in a world full of humans. What makes the Walten Files such an intensely disturbing story is that it's a family tragedy. Sure, there's certainly terrifying imagery and sound design, but it's just set dressing for real people going through intensely horrific situations. Life, a lot of times, is scary enough, and that's all you need. The killer bunny robot, that's just the cherry on top. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut.
I mean, that's an interesting little theory. That is most certainly an interesting little theory there. Charles as the boss. I mean, being some kind of higher up, I could see that. Like, I mean, I have theorized that that Susan, because we know Cyber Fun Tech was actually involved with building the robots. I feel like I've theorized that Susan is actually a Cyber Fun Tech employee rather than a Bunny Smiles employee, or at least was involved with Cyber Fun Tech and maybe transferred over. Maybe Charles was a manager. Maybe Charles was a manager or something, or maybe he is involved with Cyberfun rather than Bunny Smiles. It's an interesting theory. Not too sure about him pulling the strings, but then, again, we don't know that much about them yet. Again, we don't even know that the man we see associated with Buzu is indeed Charles. It's very likely to be Charles, but it hasn't been confirmed, and I will keep saying that until there is actually proof that confirms that yes, this is Charles, because god damn, I try not to rush too far ahead and make connections before there's enough evidence to support it, and sometimes I still do, but no, interesting things to think about there. MatPat has pulled out a few things that maybe I didn't consider so much. Yeah, that's all I've got to say about that. But so I've watched it now. I've reacted to it. People told me it was kind of bad, and I don't know. Some parts of it definitely, but other parts definitely interesting. I'll have to think. But I think for now, this is probably a good time to knock the stream off. So thank you very much for tuning in. If you've stayed with me since the beginning, or if you've tuned in later on, I do appreciate it. I'm gonna go and do some other things now, and upload this VoD to YouTube. Or rather, I might actually download the video first and then cut out the Monster Rancher section and upload that separately, but yeah. The reaction bits of the VoD is definitely going up on my YouTube channel, and it's going to be unmonetized like the last one was. And hopefully I'll actually be able to start putting together a few more of my theory videos on my own. I'm kind of going slow because I've not done it for a while because of the break, but we'll get back to it. So yeah, thank you for coming. Let's go make people happy. Thank you, and good day. Cyborg out.